Hey guys, tonight we are heading somewhere truly special. A place where the rhythm of life is set by the sun and the whispers of the ancestors. We're journeying to the rolling hills of 19th century southern Africa, into the quiet world of Zulu homesteads, to learn about a form of healing that was as much about community and spirit as it was about herbs and roots. This is history at its most gentle, a story about listening to the land and to each other. Asterisk now, a small, friendly warning. You, with your memory foam mattress and your expectation of a morning latte, probably wouldn't survive this for more than a day. There are no convenience stores, no Wi-Fi, and the local entertainment consists of watching grass grow, which, to be fair, is more interesting than it sounds. The pace of life here is so profoundly slow that your smartwatch would probably file a formal complaint. Asterisk so. Before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Your support is what keeps these quiet journeys going, and while you're at it, I'd love to know where in the world you're listening from and what time it is there. It's always fascinating to see our little community of sleepy history lovers stretching across the globe. Asterisk now. Dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. The first thing you notice is the cold. It's not a bitter, biting cold, but a deep, damp chill that sinks right into your bones. It's the kind of cold that exists only in the moments just before dawn, when the night has exhausted its darkness but the sun is still a distant rumor. You draw your thin blanket a little tighter around your shoulders, your breath misting in the air. You've been walking for what feels like an eternity, guided by the faint silhouette of the hills against the sky, slowly turning from inky black to a soft, bruised purple. Asterisk, and then you see it. Perched on a gentle slope, overlooking a meandering stream, is a small cluster of what look like giant, perfectly formed beehives. This is an umuzi, a traditional Zulu homestead, or kraal. From this distance, it's a picture of serene order. A circular palisade of sturdy, sharpened logs encloses the entire settlement, a protective arm against the vast, sleeping wilderness. Inside, the dome-shaped huts, the Zulu, are arranged in a neat crescent, their doorways all facing the center. Asterisk your feet, bare against the earth, make almost no sound on the well-trodden path. The ground is cool and slightly damp with dew, and you can feel every small stone and fallen leaf. As you get closer, the smells of the homestead begin to reach you. There's the earthy, sweet scent of cattle, a cornerstone of this society, and the sharp, comforting aroma of wood smoke from a fire that has been carefully banked to smolder through the night. It's a smell that speaks of warmth, food, and home. Asterisk you pause at the main entrance to the kraal, a narrow opening in the outer fence. There's no gate, no guard, just a silent invitation. Stepping through feels like crossing a threshold into another world. The quiet inside is different from the quiet of the open veld. It's a sleeping quiet, filled with the soft sounds of life. You can hear the gentle lowing of a cow from the central enclosure, the isibaya, the heart of the homestead, where the family's wealth and connection to the ancestors are housed. You hear the faint rustle of a sleeping family inside one of the huts, and the soft, almost imperceptible thump-thump of a dog's tail wagging in its sleep. Asterisk. The huts themselves are marvels of natural engineering. They are built from a framework of supple saplings, bent and tied into a perfect dome, then covered in tightly woven mats of dried grass. The thatch is so thick and expertly layered that it keeps the inside cool on a hot day and warm during a chilly night. It's a structure that breathes with the seasons. Historians confirm this design was both incredibly efficient and deeply symbolic, representing the dome of the sky and the womb of the earth. Asterisk, you approach one of the huts, the one you've been directed to. The doorway is surprisingly low, no more than 3 feet high. It's a deliberate design. To enter, you must stoop, a forced gesture of humility and respect for the home you are entering. It also happens to be a clever defensive measure. No one can charge into a home while bent in half. You awkwardly duck your head and shoulders, feeling clumsy and oversized, and step inside. The air within is thick with the scent of dried herbs, old leather, and something else. A clean, earthy smell. Your eyes take a moment to adjust to the dimness. Light filters in only through the low doorway and a few small gaps in the thatch, painting stripes of dusty gray across the interior. The floor isn't dirt, as you might have expected. It's a smooth, dark, polished surface. This is a traditional Zulu floor, made from a mixture of clay and cow dung, which, once dry, is polished with a smooth stone until it has the hardness and sheen of dark marble. It's surprisingly clean, and you learn that the ammonia in the mixture acts as a natural insect repellent, a quirky, practical solution that is far more elegant than it sounds. A few figures are beginning to stir. A woman emerges from a nearby hut, her movements fluid and unhurried. She walks to the center of the homestead and begins to coax the embers of the communal fire back to life. You watch as the first orange sparks fly, a tiny sunrise in the heart of the sleeping kraal. You wonder, in this quiet, self-sufficient world, how they perceive themselves. Do they feel isolated or perfectly complete? Historians still wonder if these homesteads operated as tiny, independent nations, or if they felt a constant, binding connection to a larger clan or kingdom. Looking around at this circle of huts, a universe unto itself, it's a question that feels both vast and immediate. The first true ray of sunlight finally crests the hill, a sliver of brilliant gold that cuts across the landscape. It touches the top of the palisade, then the thatched roofs of the huts, and finally, it lands on your face. The warmth is instantaneous, a gentle promise. A new day is beginning, and with it, your first lesson in a world where healing is woven into the very fabric of the dawn. As the sun climbs higher, spilling its golden light into the homestead, the quiet begins to shift. It's no longer the silence of sleep, but the gentle, purposeful hum of a community waking up. You can hear the soft scraping of a pot, the murmur of voices from another hut, the happy squeal of a child chasing a chicken that has wandered too far from its coop. It's a symphony of domesticity, and you are the quiet, slightly out of place audience member. The woman who rekindled the fire now approaches you. She doesn't speak, but offers a small, reassuring smile and a nod of her head towards the hut you stood before. A figure is emerging, ducking low to clear the doorway, and you know instantly that this is him. This is the Inyanga, the healer you have come to see. He is not what you might have pictured. He isn't ancient and frail, bent by the weight of his wisdom. He is tall and straight-backed, with broad shoulders and a strength that seems to emanate from his very core. His hair is cropped short and flecked with gray, but his face is a map of a long and thoughtful life, with deep lines etched around his eyes and mouth. He wears a simple leather loincloth, the ibishu, and around his neck hangs a single strand of what looked like polished animal vertebrae and dark, smooth seeds. His skin has the rich, deep tone of well-oiled wood, and it catches the morning light. He takes a few slow, deliberate steps toward you, his bare feet making no sound on the hard-packed earth. You feel a sudden, very modern urge to do something, to extend a hand, to introduce yourself, to explain your purpose with a well-rehearsed speech. Your body tenses, ready for the familiar rituals of greeting, but something in his calm, unhurried demeanor holds you still. You get the distinct feeling that a handshake and a business card would be wildly inappropriate. He stops about 10 feet away from you and simply looks. His eyes, dark and incredibly clear, meet yours. And they don't just see you. They seem to be reading you. It's not an intrusive or judgmental gaze. It's a gaze of profound, unnerving observation. It feels like he can see the tension in your shoulders from sleeping on an unfamiliar patch of ground. The slight fatigue behind your eyes from your long journey. The nervous energy buzzing just beneath your skin. It's like a doctor's examination, a therapist's session, and a very wise grandparent's appraisal all rolled into one silent, powerful moment. You have the fleeting, comical thought that he is somehow accessing your entire browser history with a single look. Asterisk. You learn later that this is a key distinction. He is an Inyanga, a master of herbal medicine and the physical body. He works with what he can see, touch, and smell. He is not an Izangoma, a diviner who is called by the ancestors and communicates with the spirit world, often through the throwing of bones. While their worlds overlap, his domain is the earth, the secrets held in roots, the calming properties of leaves, the healing power of bark. His knowledge is of the tangible world, though it's guided by a deep spiritual understanding. Asterisk, he continues his silent assessment, his eyes flicking from your face, down to your posture, to the way you hold your hands. He's not looking for illness, not in the way you understand it. He's looking for imbalance. In the Zulu worldview, health impilo is a state of balance between the individual, the community, and the ancestors. Sickness is a sign that this balance has been disrupted. He is looking for the source of the disruption. Is it in your spirit, your heart, your connection to those around you? Asterisk, you notice his hand absently stroking one of the smooth, dark seeds on his necklace. It's a small, unconscious gesture. These are not mere decorations. Every item an Inyanga carries, or wears, has a purpose. Perhaps the seeds are from a plant known to ward off malevolent spirits, or the vertebrae are from an animal admired for its strength and courage. It's a lesser-known fact that their entire personage is a part of their medicine kit. Their attire, their tools, even their walking stick are imbued with meaning and power. Asterisk, the silence stretches on, long enough to become uncomfortable, then it loops back around to become strangely peaceful. You let out a breath you didn't realize you were holding, and just as you do, he gives a slow, single nod. A flicker of a smile touches the corners of his eyes. The assessment, it seems, is over. You have 4 reasons you don't quite understand. Past, asterisk, he turns without a word, gesturing with his head for you to follow. He walks back towards his hut, his movements economical and graceful. You're left wondering about the apprenticeship for a role like this. How is this silent, intuitive knowledge passed down? Historians and anthropologists still debate the exact nature of the training. Was it a formal system with stages of initiation, or was it a gradual, lifelong absorption of wisdom, learned by watching, doing, and listening, without a single written word to guide the way? How do you teach someone to read the soul in a person's posture? Asterisk, you shake off the thought and hurry to follow him, ducking your head to enter the low doorway of his hut, leaving the bright morning sun behind and stepping into a world of shadows and secrets. The moment you are fully inside, the world outside vanishes. The low doorway acts like a camera's aperture, closing out the bright morning and plunging you into a warm, earthy twilight. For a few seconds, you are almost completely blind, blinking as your eyes struggle to adjust, but your other senses are wide awake. The air in here is thick, not with dust, but with a dense, complex tapestry of smells that seems to tell a story all its own. Asterisk first, there's the foundational scent of the hut itself, the nutty, grassy smell of the thatch, the faint, lingering aroma of the polished dung floor, and the ever-present, gentle perfume of woods. But layered over that is something far more intricate. It's the smell of 1,000 dried things. There's a dusty, sweet scent like old hay, a sharp, spicy note that tickles your nose, a deep, loamy smell of unearthed roots, and a faint, almost leathery aroma from cured animal hides. It's like stepping into the world's oldest and most organic pharmacy, one where the only packaging is a bit of string, and the only catalog is the one stored in the healer's mind. Asterisk, as your vision slowly returns, the space begins to take shape. The interior is larger than you expected, a perfect circle about 15 feet in diameter. The domed roof arches high above you, and from the central rafters hang dozens upon dozens of bundles of dried plants. They look like strange, botanical chandeliers, casting long, spidery shadows in the dim light. Some are leafy and gray, others are bundles of twigs tied with sinew, and some are just gnarled, dark roots that look like sleeping creatures. You realize this isn't just storage, it's a living library of remedies. Good luck finding the right leaf for a headache, though. There are no labels here, no color-coded system. The entire inventory exists only in the healer's memory. Asterisk around the curved perimeter of the hut. Everything is arranged with a quiet, deliberate order. There are clay pots of various sizes, their surfaces dark and smoky from countless fires. You see stacks of neatly folded animal skins, perhaps impala or goat-tanned, several large gourds, hollowed out and dried, with wooden stoppers plugged into their tops. These gourds, you learn, are the ancient equivalent of sterile glass bottles, used for storing powdered medicines or precious liquids. Their cool, smooth surfaces preserve the contents perfectly. This is a widely known fact about traditional African medicine. The use of natural containers was a science in itself. Asterisk in one corner, you spot a collection of tools. There is a large, flat stone with a smaller, rounded one resting on top of it, clearly used for grinding. Next to it are several sharp-edged shells for scraping bark, and a set of beautifully carved wooden spoons and stirrers. Everything is well worn, darkened with use, each object holding the patina of 1,000 careful preparations. The Inyanga asterisk moves past you into the center of the hut. He walks with a familiarity that turns the cluttered space into a perfectly organized workshop. He kneels beside a small, intricately beaded leather pouch that you hadn't noticed before. It's a fascinating, lesser-known detail that in Inyanga's most potent items were often stored separately in sanctified containers. He opens it carefully, and you see that it doesn't contain herbs. Instead, it holds a collection of animal horns, small bones, and curiously shaped stones. These are not medicines for the body, but tools for focusing spiritual energy or for specific rituals. Some healers believed that horns from a powerful animal, like a kudu, could help direct healing energy. He selects a small, smooth antelope horn and places it beside him. Asterisk, your eyes are drawn to the center of the floor, where a small circle of stones contains a few softly glowing embers. There's no chimney, yet the hut isn't filled with smoke. The fire is made from a specific type of wood that burns hot and slow, with very little smoke. A clever adaptation to the architecture. The Inyanga adds a single, small piece of wood to the embers, and a thin, fragrant curl of white smoke rises straight up, disappearing into the dark thatch of the ceiling. It's a much better ventilation system than you would have guessed. Asterisk. He then reaches up to one of the hanging bundles, a collection of silvery, feathery leaves, and pulls a few sprigs free. He doesn't seem to search for it. His hand goes to it instinctively, as if the plant had called to him. He brings the leaves to his nose, inhaling deeply, his eyes closed for a moment in concentration. The Inyanga doesn't move for a long moment. He just holds the silvery leaves, his thumb gently stroking their soft, downy texture. The silence in the hut deepens, and you find yourself focusing on the tiny sounds, the soft hiss of the embers, the almost inaudible rustle of the thatch in a breeze you can't feel, the steady rhythm of your own breathing. He seems to be waiting for the world to settle, for the moment to be just right. Asterisk then. With a movement as smooth as flowing water, he kneels by the central fire pit. He doesn't toss the leaves in. He places them, reverently, one by one, onto the glowing embers. There's a soft sizzle, a tiny puff of gray smoke, and then the air is transformed. A clean, sharp, and deeply calming fragrance fills the hut. A scent that seems to scrub the air clean, and quiet, the frantic buzzing in your mind. The smoke is thin and pale blue, and it doesn't sting your eyes. It coils and dances in the shafts of dusty light, a living, breathing thing. He watches the smoke for a few seconds. Then he looks at you, and for the first time, he speaks. His voice is not what you expected. It's deep and resonant, but quiet, like the sound of a large drum being struck softly from a great distance. It's a voice that doesn't need to be loud to be heard. What is this? He asks, his voice a low rumble. He gestures with his chin towards the rising smoke. You, a product of a world that values quick, clever answers, feel a familiar pressure to say something smart. Smoke. You think. Aromatic vapor, the byproduct of combustion. But you know those are the wrong answers. They are words of science, of separation. They describe what a thing is, not what it means. So, you stay silent, which you are quickly learning is often the wisest response in his presence. He seems to appreciate your hesitation. A small smile touches his lips. It was a leaf, he says, his gaze following a curl of smoke as it drifts upwards. It grew from the earth, fed by the sun and the rain. Now, it is fire and air. Its scent is inside this hut. It is inside you, now that you breathe it in. The leaf is not gone. It has just changed. It is connected to everything. To the soil, to the sky, to me, to you. He lets that thought settle in the fragrant air. This is the beginning of all healing, he continues. To understand this connection, we have a word for it. Ubuntu *. There it is. The first lesson, Ubuntu. You've likely heard the word before, loosely translated as humanity towards others. But here, in this smoky hut, it feels like something much deeper. It means, I am because we are, he explains, his eyes meeting yours again. A person is only a person through other people. A leaf is only a leaf because of the tree. The tree is only a tree because of the forest. This is the central, widely accepted philosophical pillar of many Southern African societies. It's a concept so profound and so contrary to the hyper-individualistic world you come from that it takes a moment to fully grasp. Your idea of self-care probably involves a locked door, a face mask, and a streaming service subscription. Here, the very idea of a self that is separate from the community is considered a form of illness. When a person is sick, the Inyanga says, tapping his chest gently, it is not just their body that is in pain. A branch has fallen from the tree. The whole forest feels the imbalance. The family is worried. The community is weakened. My work is not just to mend the branch. It is to help the whole forest heal. You start to understand. A remedy is never just for an individual. Treating a person's cough might involve a conversation with their family to resolve a hidden conflict. Easing a person's anxiety might require a communal ceremony to reassure them of their place in the world. It's a holistic approach that makes your own medical system, with its specialists for every conceivable body part, seem strangely fragmented. It's a lesser known, but beautiful detail that this philosophy is embedded right into the language. The common Zulu greeting isn't a casual hello. It's sawubona, which literally translates to, I see you. It's a powerful acknowledgement, a way of saying, I see your personality, your history, your spirit, and your potential. The traditional response is yebo, sawubona *, which means, yes, we see you, the we, including the ancestors. It's a greeting that instantly establishes a bond of mutual respect and shared humanity. Imagine if every time you greeted someone, it was a confirmation of their entire existence. You ponder the sheer resilience of this idea. Historians still actively debate how a collective-based philosophy like Ubuntu managed to survive, and even thrive, through the immense pressures of colonialism, apartheid, and globalization. all of which championed individual success, private ownership, and competition. How does a worldview built on "we endure in a world that relentlessly screams me"? Did it simply go underground, practiced in quiet ways within communities? Or did it transform, adapting its principles to new, often hostile, environments? The smoke from the leaves has mostly dissipated now, but the clean, calming scent lingers in the air. The Inyanga has fallen silent again, letting you absorb the lesson. He has given you the philosophical key to his entire world. Healing isn't about fixing a broken part. It's about restoring a connection. It's about reminding the fallen branch that it is still part of the tree, and the tree is still part of the forest. He gives a slow, deliberate nod, the same one he gave you outside. The lesson, for now, is over, and you feel a subtle shift inside you. The hut no longer feels like a strange, foreign place. You are breathing its air, sharing its space, connected by a single, fragrant thought. You are part of the we. After the lesson on Ubuntu has settled into the quiet air of the hut, the Inyanga rises in a single, fluid motion. There's an economy to his movements that you're starting to admire. No wasted energy, no hesitation. He picks up a small, tightly woven basket from a corner. It reads the color of pale honey, and then selects a long, smooth stick that was leaning against the wall. The stick is taller than he is, polished to a dark sheen by years of handling. It's not just a walking aid. It feels like a staff of office, an extension of his own steady presence. He gestures with his head towards the low doorway, a silent command for you to follow him back out into the morning. Ducking through the opening again, the sudden brightness of the sun is a physical shock. You squint, your pupils shrinking rapidly, and the world comes back into focus in a blaze of color and light. The sky is a vast, cloudless dome of the most brilliant blue. The air is warmer now, carrying the scent of sun-baked earth and the distant perfume of wild grasses. The homestead is fully awake, a gentle thrum of activity all around you. Children are playing a game with small stones, their laughter like little bells. Women are grinding maize in heavy wooden mortar, the rhythmic thump-thump providing a steady beat to the morning. No one pays you much attention. You are with the Inyanga, and his quiet authority seems to create a bubble of purpose around you both. He leads you away from the central kraal, past the outer palisade, and onto a narrow path that winds its way up into the hills. The path is barely visible, a mere suggestion in the tall grass, but he follows it with an unerring confidence. You, on the other hand, are acutely aware of every rustle in the undergrowth, your city-dweller brain immediately cataloging all the potential snakes, spiders, and other creatures that might be lurking there. You have a comical vision of explaining to a 19th century Zulu healer that you have a deep, irrational fear of things with more than 4 legs. He seems to sense your unease. Without turning, he says, "Tread softly. We are a guest here." It's a simple statement, but it reframes everything. You're not conquering nature, or even hiking through it. You are a visitor in a world that is already complete and functioning perfectly without you. You begin to watch where you place your feet, not just to avoid tripping, but to avoid crushing a delicate flower or disturbing a line of ants. The walk transforms from a nervous trek into a moving meditation. The landscape is breathtaking. The hills roll away to the horizon in gentle, green waves, dotted with acacia trees that spread their flat tops against the sky like parasols. The grass is long and silvery, and it whispers as the breeze moves through it. You are walking through a sea of subtle colors, sage, dusty brown, all shimmering under the African sun. The Inyanga stops. He isn't looking at anything in particular, not yet. He's just standing still, his head tilted slightly, as if listening. You try to listen, too. You can hear the buzz of insects, the distant cry of a hawk, the sigh of the wind in the grass. But you get the sense he is listening to something deeper, something you can't yet hear. He is tuning into the rhythm of the veld. Asterisk, this is a known practice among traditional healers. They would often spend time simply observing and listening to the environment before gathering plants. They believed that the land itself would guide them to what was needed. A particular plant might seem to shine or stand out, an indication that its medicinal properties were at their peak, and that it was ready to be harvested. Asterisk, after a moment of stillness. He takes a few steps off the path, parting the tall grass with his staff. He kneels down, and you follow, peering over his shoulder. You see grass, and a few small, uninteresting-looking weeds. But he is looking at one plant in particular. It's small and low to the ground, with broad, slightly fuzzy leaves. It's something you would have walked past 1,000 times without a second glance. Asterisk, he doesn't immediately pluck it. Instead, he reaches into a small pouch at his belt and takes out a pinch of something that looks like fine brown powder. It's probably snuff, finely ground tobacco. This is a crucial, though sometimes overlooked, part of the process. He sprinkles a tiny amount of the powder onto the ground beside the plant. This isn't a fertilizer. It's an offering. It's a way of asking permission. He is acknowledging the spirit of the plant and giving thanks before he takes anything. He then murmurs a few words in a low voice, too quiet for you to hear. It's a prayer, a statement of intent, explaining why the plant is needed and promising that it will be used for healing. Asterisk, only then does he carefully begin to dig around the base of the plant with a small, sharpened piece of wood. He works slowly, taking care not to damage the main root system. He isn't harvesting the whole thing, just a small part of it. He takes what he needs and leaves the rest to grow and flourish. It's the very definition of sustainable harvesting. A practice born, not from modern environmentalism, but from a deep, ancient respect for the interconnectedness of all living things. Asterisk, he holds up a small, gnarled root, still covered in dark soil. He smiles, a genuine, quiet smile of satisfaction. You're left to wonder about the origins of this knowledge. How did the first healers discover that this specific root, out of the thousands of plants in the veld, had the power to soothe a fever or ease a troubled mind? Historians and botanists have many theories, trial and error over generations, observing the habits of sick animals, but no one knows for certain. Was it a slow, methodical process of experimentation, or was it, as the healers themselves often claimed, knowledge gifted to them by the ancestors in dreams? The truth is likely a combination of both, a blend of empirical science and profound spiritual intuition that we can now only guess at. Asterisk. He carefully places the root into his basket and gently pats the earth back into place around the plant he has left behind. He stands up, and the lesson is complete. You haven't just learned how to find a plant. You've learned that gathering medicine is an act of deep humility, a sacred conversation between the healer and the earth. Your walk through the veld continues, but it has changed. It is no longer a simple journey from one point to another. It has become a slow, deliberate treasure hunt, guided by the quiet wisdom of the Inyanga. He moves with a practiced eye, his gaze sweeping across the landscape, not just looking, but seeing. He pauses every now and then, pointing with his staff, and you begin to see the world through his eyes. The monotonous sea of green and brown starts to separate into a complex mosaic of individual plants, each with a name, a purpose, and a personality. Asterisk, he leads you to a patch of damp, shady ground near a trickle of a stream. Here, he points out a cluster of plants with long, flat, green leaves that look remarkably like the spring onions you might find in a grocery store. He kneels and pulls one from the soft earth. The small white bulb at its base gives off a sharp, pungent, and surprisingly familiar smell. "Ubuntu," he says softly, holding it up for you to inspect. This is wild garlic. Asterisk, it's a well-documented fact that various species of wild garlic and onion were a cornerstone of traditional medicine across southern Africa, rich in antibacterial and antiviral compounds. They were the all-purpose antibiotics of their day. He explains, in his spare, direct way, that it is used for coughs, for colds, for cleansing the blood. It can be eaten raw, crushed into a poultice to be placed on the chest, or boiled in water to create a steam that a sick person can inhale. It is a powerful, fiery plant, a warrior against illness. You imagine someone with a bad cold being told to chew on a raw clove of this, and you can't help but smile at the thought. Some remedies are universal in their unsubtle effectiveness. Asterisk, he carefully places a few bulbs into his basket, and you move on. A little further up the hill, in a dry, sunny spot, he stops again. This time, he indicates a feathery, almost delicate-looking shrub with silvery gray leaves. The leaves are soft to the touch, like felt, and when you gently crush one between your fingers as he gestures for you to do, it releases a clean, bitter, and intensely aromatic scent. It reminds you of sage and mint, but with a wilder, earthier edge. Umlanyan asterisk, he says. This is African wormwood. The plant has gained international recognition in modern times for its anti-malarial properties, but its traditional uses were far broader. The Inyanga explains that this is a plant for calming. It is used to soothe troubled stomachs, to ease fevers by inducing a gentle sweat, and, most importantly, to quiet a restless spirit. The leaves can be brewed into a bitter tea knot, a pleasant drink, he notes with a wry look, but a powerful one, or dried and burned, much like the leaves in his hut, to create a smoke that cleanses a space of negative energy and brings a sense of peace. You can easily imagine that sharp, clean scent cutting through the heavy air of a sick room, bringing with it a feeling of clarity and relief. Asterisk, as you walk, you start to learn the secret language he is reading. The shape of a leaf, the color of a flower, the place where a plant chooses to grow, all tells a story. He points out plants that are good for snake bites, always found growing near rocky outcrops where snakes like to live. He shows you a tree whose bark can be used to treat skin ailments, and another whose leaves can be made into a tea to help a new mother produce more milk. It's a lesser known, but fascinating aspect of this knowledge system that it was deeply ecological. The remedy was often found right next to the source of the problem, a concept modern science calls the doctrine of signatures, though the Inyanga would simply call it common sense. Asterisk, you pass a plant with beautiful, trumpet-shaped flowers. It's vibrant and eye-catching, and you instinctively feel drawn to it. The Inyanga sees you looking and gives a slight shake of his head. Some plants are only for looking, he says. Their beauty is their purpose. Their medicine is for the eyes, not the stomach. Asterisk, it's a simple, poetic thought that strikes you. Not everything has to be useful. Some things are just there to be beautiful, and that in itself is a form of healing. Asterisk, you begin to realize the incredible complexity of his mental database. For each plant, he knows not only its name and its primary use, but also which part of the plant to harvest: the root, the leaf, the bark, or the flower. He knows the correct season to gather it, the time of day when its properties are most potent. He knows how to prepare it, whether it should be dried, crushed, boiled, or burned. And, crucially, he knows the correct dosage, a skill that could only be learned through generations of careful observation. A little of this root might heal, but a little too much might harm. Asterisk, you ask him, through a combination of gestures and simple words, how he remembers it all. He stops and looks out over the valley, a thoughtful expression on his face. The plants do not forget, he says finally. They are the same as they were for my father and his father's father. It is not my mind that remembers, it is my blood that remembers. Asterisk, it's a beautiful, mystical answer, but it leaves you with a profound question that still occupies scholars. Was this knowledge static, or did it evolve? Did healers in different regions develop their own unique pharmacopoeias, based on the local flora? And how did they incorporate new plants or respond to new diseases? Was there a hidden system of innovation and peer review? perhaps shared through stories and meetings between healers from different clans? Or was the knowledge so sacred and so tied to ancestral tradition that it remained unchanged for centuries? Asterisk. As the sun climbs towards its zenith, your basket is starting to fill. It contains a collection of roots, leaves, and pieces of bark that, to your untrained eye, look like little more than a pile of garden clippings. But to the Inyanga, it is a carefully curated selection of hope and healing. A portable pharmacy gathered from the gentle, giving hands of the earth itself. And you, the clumsy apprentice, are beginning to learn its language. Asterisk. By the time you return to the homestead, the sun is high and warm on your shoulders. The basket, now pleasantly heavy, smells of damp earth, bitter leaves, and the sharp temps of wild garlic. The gentle hum of the umuzi has settled into the quiet rhythm of midday. Most of the strenuous morning chores are done, and a peaceful, almost sleepy atmosphere has descended. You see a few older men sitting in the shade of a large tree, talking in low voices, while a group of women work together, beating intricate patterns onto a leather skirt. The Inyanga asterisk leads you back to his hut. The cool, fragrant dimness inside is a welcome relief from the bright sun. He places the basket of freshly gathered plants in the center of the floor with a soft, satisfying thud. You expect him to begin the work of processing them, immediately washing, chopping, drying, but he doesn't. Instead, he settles himself on a low, carved wooden stool, crosses his legs, and simply sits in silence, his eyes closed. Asterisk. You, ever the student of a world that values constant productivity, feel a familiar itch of impatience. What's next? What's the plan? Shouldn't we be doing something? You sit on a woven mat across from him, trying to mimic his stillness, but it feels unnatural. You find yourself cataloging the remaining tasks of the day, a mental to-do list that seems entirely out of place in this timeless hut. Asterisk. After a long, quiet moment, he opens his eyes. He looks not at you, but at the space just above your head, as if listening to a conversation you cannot hear. Before the hands begin their work, he says, his voice a low murmur, the spirit must be clear. We must listen for guidance. The ancestors see further than we do. Asterisk. And here, you arrive at the spiritual core of his practice. His deep knowledge of botany is only one half of his power. The other, equally important half, is his connection to the Amadlozi, the spirits of the ancestors. In Zulu cosmology, the ancestors are not gone. They are active, present, and deeply invested in the well-being of their living descendants. They are the bridge between the physical world and the spirit world. A family's good fortune, health, and happiness depend on maintaining a good relationship with them. The Inyanga asterisk explains that his most important diagnostic tool is not his keen sense of observation, but his dreams. At night, he says, when the world is quiet, the Amadlozi come. They show me what I need to see. They might show me the face of a person who will soon need my help. They might show me a plant growing in a place I have never looked before. They might show me a shadow around a person, a sign of a spiritual sickness that no herb can touch. Asterisk. This is a widely acknowledged aspect of the healer's role. An Inyanga or an Izangoma doesn't choose their profession. They are called to it, often through a series of vivid, persistent, and sometimes frightening dreams. This calling, known as Yukuthwasa, is a period of intense spiritual and physical transformation, often accompanied by unexplainable illnesses that only resolves once the person accepts their calling and begins their training under an established healer. It is a destiny, not a career choice. Asterisk. A dream is not a fantasy, he continues, his gaze still distant. It is a message. But the language is not always simple. Sometimes it is a riddle. He explains that a dream of a river might signify a need for spiritual cleansing. A dream of a snake, a creature deeply connected to the ancestors, could be a warning or a sign of powerful spiritual energy. With his spiritual preparations complete, the Inyanga's focus shifts entirely to the basket of plants. His movements become crisp and efficient. The actions of a master craftsman who has performed these tasks 10,000 times. He reaches into the basket and begins to sort the contents with a quiet, practiced touch, creating small, neat piles on a clean woven mat. It's like watching a chef organize his ingredients before beginning a complex meal. The gnarled roots go in one pile, the feathery leaves in another, the strips of bark in a third. He picks up one of the dark, earthy roots you gathered earlier. He inspects it closely, turning it over in his hands, then scrapes a bit of the remaining soil off with his thumbnail. Satisfied, he places it on the large, flat grinding stone in the center of the hut. He takes the smaller, rounded stone, the size and shape of a large ostrich egg, into his hand. The stone fits his palm perfectly, its surface worn smooth and dark from generations of use. You can almost feel the history in it, the ghosts of 1,000 other hands having held it in just the same way. Then, he begins to grind. The sound that fills the hut is one of the most ancient and soothing sounds in human history. It's a rhythmic, gritty shush 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 as stone grinds against stone, slowly pulverizing the tough, fibrous root between them. He doesn't apply a lot of force. It's not about crushing the root into submission. It's a slow, patient, circular motion. His shoulders and back are relaxed. His breathing is even, and his entire body moves with the rhythm of the grinding. The process is steady, unhurried, almost hypnotic. It's not a chore. It's a ritual. You watch, mesmerized by the simple, repetitive action. It's a sound that connects you directly to the deep past. For millennia, this was the sound of sustenance, of making grain into flour, of turning hard seeds into nourishing paste. And here, in this hut, it is the sound of making medicine. As he grinds, a fine, pale powder begins to form around the edges of the root. A faint, dusty, and slightly sweet smell rises from the stone. The work is slow. It takes long minutes of continuous grinding to reduce just a small piece of the root to a consistent powder. You'll realize why the Inyanga needed that period of quiet contemplation. This work requires immense patience, a quality that is in short supply in your fast-paced world. You imagine trying to do this yourself and giving up after 30 seconds to look for a blender. This slow, manual grinding is a well-documented part of the medicinal preparation process, but a lesser-known aspect is the belief that the healer's own energy, or isithancy, was transferred into the medicine through this process. As he ground the herbs, he would often chant or hum softly, focusing his intention for healing into the powder. The medicine wasn't just a collection of chemical compounds. It was imbued with the healer's spiritual force. The rhythm, the sound, the focused intention was all part of the remedy. The machine-like perfection of a modern pharmaceutical factory would be seen as sterile and soulless, lacking this vital human element. Once he has a small pile of fine powder, he stops. He uses a small wooden scoop to transfer the powder into a shallow clay bowl. He then takes one of the gourds from the side of the hut, uncorks it with a soft pop, and pours a tiny amount of clear liquid into the bowl. It might be water, or perhaps a simple oil pressed from local seeds. He uses a small, carved wooden stick to mix the powder and liquid together, his movements as careful as a painter mixing colors on a palette. He works the mixture until it forms a thick, smooth, dark paste. This is a poultice, or isilachi. He gestures for you to come closer, and you shuffle forward on your knees. He dips a finger into the paste, and then rubs a small amount onto the back of your hand. The poultice is cool against your skin, and smells faintly of damp earth and green things. It's not unpleasant, he mimes, spreading it on a wound or a swollen joint. It's a simple, topical remedy, meant to be applied directly to the site of an injury to reduce swelling, draw out infection, or soothe pain. It's medicine at its most direct and intuitive. He then moves on to another pile of herbs, this time the soft, silvery leaves of the Inyanga. He doesn't grind these. Instead, he places them in a small clay pot and adds a bit of water. He carefully pushes the pot into the glowing embers at the edge of the fire pit. He is not boiling it, just gently heating it to release the plant's volatile oils. The air in the hut soon fills with that familiar, sharp, cleansing aroma. This will become an infusion, a medicinal tea. You are struck by the precision and purpose of it all. Nothing is wasted. The right tool is used for the right job. The right technique is applied to the right plant. It is a science, but an organic, sensory one. The healer is guided not by written instructions and precise measurements, but by smell, by touch, by sight, and by a deep, instinctual knowledge passed down through generations. Historians and archaeologists still puzzle over the exact antiquity of these techniques. Grinding stones, or corns, are among the most common artifacts found at ancient human settlements across the globe. But it's almost impossible to know for sure what was being ground on them. Was it food, pigments for rock art, or was it medicine? Without written records, how can we know when our ancestors first made the cognitive leap from seeing a plant as food to seeing it as a potential cure? The rhythmic sound of that grinding stone holds the answer, but it's a secret it keeps to itself. The Inyanga * continues his work, his focus absolute. He is in a state of flow, completely absorbed in the ancient, meditative rhythm of turning plants into healing. You sit back, watching and listening, feeling the deep, soothing peace of purposeful, repetitive work. It is a quiet symphony of scraping, grinding, and stirring the gentle, life-affirming music of the healer's hut. Just as you've settled into the peaceful, hypnotic rhythm of the healer's work, a subtle change in the sounds outside the hut signals an arrival. The cheerful chatter of the children quiets for a moment, and you hear the low murmur of an adult voice, followed by the soft, shuffling footsteps of someone approaching. A shadow falls across the low doorway, and a young woman ducks into the hut. She carries a small baby, wrapped snugly against her back in a sling made from a soft animal hide. Her face is etched with worry, and she moves with a tense, anxious energy that feels jarring in the calm atmosphere of the hut. The baby is not crying loudly, but is whimpering, a high-pitched fretful sound that speaks of deep discomfort. It's a sound that would instantly raise the cortisol levels of any parent. The young woman offers a respectful greeting to the Inyanga, her voice quiet and strained. He stops his work and gives her his full, unhurried attention. He doesn't ask what's wrong. He simply waits, creating a calm space for her to speak. She explains that her son, who is only a few months old, has been restless for 2 nights. He won't feed properly. He cries whenever he is laid down, and his breathing is shallow and raspy. She has tried everything. She knows rocking him, singing to him, but nothing seems to soothe his distress. She looks exhausted, the way only a new parent with a sick child can be. You feel a wave of sympathy for her. It's a scene that is both timeless and universal. The Inyanga * nods slowly, his expression calm and reassuring. He gestures for her to bring the baby to him. She carefully unwraps the sling and hands the small, whimpering bundle over. The Inyanga takes the baby into his large, gentle hands, with a practiced ease that is beautiful to watch. He is not just a healer of adults. He is clearly a beloved figure to the children of the community. He doesn't perform a medical examination in the way you'd expect. He doesn't use a stethoscope or check the baby's temperature with a thermometer. Instead, he simply holds the child, his eyes soft. He rocks the baby gently, humming a low monotonous tune that seems to vibrate through his chest. He places a hand on the baby's tiny heaving chest, feeling the rhythm and texture of his breathing. He brings the baby close to his face, not to look, but to smell his breath. This is a well-known, traditional diagnostic technique. The scent of a person's breath, skin, or sweat could reveal internal imbalances to a skilled healer, * the baby. Perhaps sensing the deep calm of the man holding him, slowly stops whimpering. His tense little body seems to relax, just a fraction. After a few minutes of this quiet, sensory assessment, the Inyanga looks up at the mother. His chest is tight. He says simply, "The air is trapped. We will help it move." He then turns to the small clay pot that has been gently warming over the embers. The one containing the silvery leaves of the amlanyen, the African wormwood. The infusion is now warm, and a gentle steam is rising from it, carrying that sharp, cleansing scent. This is his chosen remedy. Not a harsh syrup or a bitter powder, but a gentle, aromatic steam. It's a lesser-known, but fascinating detail. That steam inhalation was a very common remedy, especially for children and the elderly. It was a way to deliver the medicinal properties of a plant directly to the lungs and sinuses without having to ingest it. For a fussy baby who would refuse to drink a bitter tea, it was the perfect, non-invasive solution. After the young mother and her now sleeping baby have left, a comfortable quiet settles back into the hut. The Inyanga returns to his work, but the energy has shifted. That small, successful intervention seems to have brought a sense of quiet satisfaction to the air. He continues his methodical sorting and grinding, and you fall back into the role of silent observer, lulled by the rhythmic sounds of his craft. Sometime later, another figure appears at the doorway. This time, it's an older man, one of the elders you saw sitting under the tree earlier. He carries a small, intricately woven grass mat under his arm. He greets the Inyanga with a familiar ease, the way old friends do, and they exchange a few words in low, rapid Zulu. From their tone, you gather they are not discussing an illness, but a community matter. The elder then turns to you, gives you a curious but friendly nod, and spreads his small mat on the floor, a little off to one side. He sits, crosses his legs, and waits patiently. The Inyanga it seems, has finished his preparations for the moment. He carefully sets aside his grinding stone and wipes his hands on a clean cloth. He then turns to a different part of the hut, a section you hadn't paid much attention to before. From a beautifully decorated clay pot, he retrieves a leather bag that seems old, far older than anything else in the hut. The leather is dark and supple with age, and it's covered in beadwork and what look like the claws of some small animal. The bag seems to hum with a latent energy. He brings the bag to the center of the hut and sits on the floor, opposite the elder. He places the bag between them. He is not acting as an Inyanga now. His demeanor has changed. He is more solemn, more focused. He is preparing for a different kind of work. You realize you are about to witness something far more mysterious than herbal medicine. The elder speaks, his voice a low, concerned rumble. He seems to be explaining a problem. He gestures vaguely towards the direction of the cattle enclosure. You can't understand the words, but you can infer the meaning from his tone. Something is amiss with the community's most valuable asset, their herd. Perhaps a cow has gone missing, or an illness is spreading among the calves. It is a problem that affects the entire homestead, a disruption to their collective well-being. The Inyanga listens without interruption, his eyes closed, his face a mask of deep concentration. This is a problem that roots and leaves cannot solve. This requires a deeper sight, a conversation with the unseen world. He is stepping, for a moment, into the role of a diviner. While he is primarily an Inyanga, it was common for healers to have multiple skills, and divination was often one of them. When the elder has finished speaking, the Inyanga takes a deep breath. He opens the ancient leather bag, and, with a swift, practiced movement, he empties its contents onto the woven mat. The objects that spill out are a strange and fascinating collection. There is a cascade of bones, knuckle bones from goats, vertebrae from snakes, the delicate jawbone of a mongoose. There are shells, some from the sea and some from snails. There are carved pieces of wood, oddly shaped stones, and a few mysterious items you can't identify, perhaps the tooth of a warthog or the claw of a leopard. This collection is the Sangoma Asami, the sacred bones. This is one of the most widely known and iconic practices in Southern African spiritual traditions. Each item in the collection has a specific meaning. For example, a hyena bone might represent a thief or a scavenger. A piece of tortoiseshell could signify patience and protection. The way the bones fall, their relationship to one another, which ones are facing up or down. It all creates a complex, symbolic language, a story that the diviner must read. It is less about telling the future, and more about revealing the hidden dynamics of the present. What are the unseen forces at play? What is the root cause of the imbalance? The Inyanga gathers the objects into his hands. He shakes them gently, the bones rattling together with a dry, whispery sound. He murmurs a quiet invocation, calling on the ancestors to guide his hands and open his eyes to the truth. You can feel the atmosphere in the hut become charged, thick with a palpable sense of reverence and power. Then, with a sharp exhalation of breath, he casts the bones onto the mat. They scatter in a seemingly random pattern. For a long moment, there is complete silence. The Inyanga and the elder both lean forward, their eyes fixed on the chaotic tableau. To you, it looks like a meaningless jumble, but to the healer, it is a sacred text. His eyes move slowly over the spread, not just looking at individual pieces, but at the spaces between them, the clusters they form, the directions they point. He is reading the patterns, interpreting the syntax of the ancestral message. It's a lesser-known detail that the interpretation is not a rigid, formulaic process. It is highly intuitive. Two different diviners might read the same throw in slightly different ways, emphasizing different aspects. The diviner is not just a passive reader. They are in a dialogue with the spirits, asking clarifying questions and receiving answers through the shifting patterns of the bones. After what feels like an eternity, the Inyanga speaks. He points with a long, thin finger to a particular cluster of bones. He explains his interpretation to the elder in a low, steady voice. He might be saying that a particular bone, representing a neighbor from another kraal, is lying too close to the bones, representing the cattle, suggesting a dispute over grazing land. Or perhaps a snake vertebra has fallen in a way that points to a spiritual disturbance, a sign that a specific ancestral ritual has been neglected and must be performed to restore harmony. The specific meaning is a mystery to you, but the effect is clear. The elder listens intently, nodding slowly. The random chaos of the bones, filtered through the wisdom of the diviner, has provided a path forward. It has given a name to their anxiety and suggested a course of action. Whether the problem is a literal dispute or a spiritual imbalance, they now have a way to address it. The exact origins of this divinatory practice are lost to time, a subject of ongoing debate among archaeologists and historians. Bone-throwing rituals are found in various forms across the world, suggesting a deep ancient human need to find meaning and order in the face of uncertainty. Did the practice arise independently in southern Africa, or does it share a common ancestor with other ancient divinatory systems? The bones, much like the grinding stone, hold their secrets close. The Inyanga carefully gathers the bones, his movements gentle and respectful, and places them back into their sacred bag. The divination is complete. The elder thanks him, his face visibly relieved. He has received not just an answer, but a sense of clarity and purpose. He rolls up his mat, gives a final nod, and departs, leaving the hut once again in a state of profound peace. You have just witnessed a perfect fusion of psychology, spirituality, and community governance, all accomplished with a handful of old bones and a deep well of ancestral wisdom. As the afternoon sun begins its slow descent, casting long golden shadows across the homestead, the energy of the Umuzi shifts once more. The work of the day is largely done. The cattle are beginning to wander back towards the central enclosure. They're lowing a soft, contented sound. The air cools, and the sharp, comforting smell of wood smoke intensifies as the evening fires are lit. This is the time for winding down, for gathering, for sharing. The Inyanga asterisk finishes his work for the day, carefully storing his freshly prepared medicines in their designated pots and gourds. He seems to move with the rhythms of the sun, his internal clock perfectly synchronized with the natural world. He gives you a nod, and you follow him out of the hut into the gentle evening light. Asterisk, he doesn't lead you to a meal, not yet. Instead, he guides you towards the communal fire pit in the center of the kraal, the same one the woman had rekindled at dawn. The fire is now burning brightly, a crackling, cheerful hearth in the middle of the homestead. Several of the village elders, including the man who had come for the divination, are already gathered there, sitting on low stools or woven mats. They are talking amongst themselves, their voices a low, rumbling counterpoint to the crackle of the flames. You and the Inyanga asterisk join the circle. No one makes a fuss. A space is quietly made for you, and you sit, feeling the warmth of the fire on your face and the vast, cooling sky above. There's a sense of easy companionship here, a comfortable silence that doesn't need to be filled with nervous chatter. For a while, the only sounds are the fire and the distant, pastoral sounds of the homestead settling in for the night. Asterisk then, one of the elders, a man with a face as wrinkled and wise as an old elephant, clears his throat. He begins to speak, his voice raspy with age, but clear and strong. He isn't addressing anyone in particular. He is simply speaking into the circle, into the firelight. He begins to tell a story. Asterisk, it's not a dramatic fable with a clear moral. It's a story about a great-grandfather, a famous cattle raider in his youth, who once outsmarted a rival clan by leading his stolen herd through a treacherous mountain pass in the dead of night, guided only by the light of the full moon. The elder describes the cold, the fear, the cleverness of the ancestor. He speaks not in the past tense, but in a vivid, present tense, as if it all happened just last week. The other elders nod, murmur their agreement, and occasionally interject with a forgotten detail or a word of praise for the ancestor's cunning. Asterisk. This is history in its original, most potent form. This is an oral tradition, a living library, where the books are the memories of the elders. A well-known fact about many pre-literate societies is that their histories were not written in ink, but were woven into epic poems, songs, and stories, passed down verbatim from one generation to the next. The storyteller was not just an entertainer. They were a historian, a guardian of the collective memory. Asterisk, after that story is finished, another elder begins. This time, it's a funny story. A tale about a notoriously clumsy man who tried to impress the woman he wanted to marry by building her a new hut, only to have the roof collapse on him 3 times. The men laugh, a deep, rumbling sound. You'll find yourself smiling, even without understanding all the words. The rhythm and the warmth of the shared laughter are universal. Asterisk. You start to realize that you are witnessing another form of healing. The Inyanga uses herbs to heal the body, and the ancestors to heal the spirit. But these stories, they are medicine for the community. They reinforce the bonds of kinship and shared identity. The stories of the great heroes instill pride and a sense of resilience. The funny stories of the clumsy ancestors provide a valuable lesson in humility and a reminder not to take oneself too seriously. The tales of hardship and survival are a testament to their strength, a reminder that they have overcome challenges before and can do so again. Asterisk, it's a More subtle aspect of this tradition that these storytelling sessions also served as a form of communal therapy by retelling the stories of past conflicts, droughts, or famines. The community could process its collective traumas in a safe and structured way. The stories provided a narrative framework for their suffering, giving it meaning and context. It's the same principle as a modern support group, just with more firelight and better scenery. The Inyanga asterisk sits quietly, listening. He is not just a healer. He is also a keeper of stories. He occasionally adds a detail to a story, a specific herb that an ancestor used, or a dream that a great-grandmother had. His knowledge is woven into the larger tapestry of the community's history. Asterisk, the sky deepens from orange to a velvety, deep indigo. The first stars begin to appear, impossibly bright in the absence of any competing light. The fire pops, sending a shower of orange sparks up into the darkness. You are sitting in the oldest of all theaters, listening to the oldest of all stories. Asterisk, this leaves you with a poignant and much debated question. What is lost when a culture transitions from an oral to a written tradition? While writing allows for the preservation of vast amounts of information with perfect accuracy, does something of the story's soul get lost? Does the story lose its interactive, communal quality? Does it lose the warmth of the storyteller's voice, the shared laughter, the feeling of being connected, not just to the words, but to the people listening with you? Sitting here, in the flickering firelight, you feel that the answer is undoubtedly yes. Asterisk, the stories continue, weaving a gentle hypnotic spell. They are not directed at you, the outsider, but you feel yourself being drawn into their world, into the long, unbroken chain of memory that stretches back through countless generations. You are not just learning about history, you are feeling it, breathing it in with the wood smoke and the cool night air. As the storytelling circle naturally winds down, a soft, contemplative quiet falls over the group. The fire has burned down to a bed of glowing orange embers that pulse gently in the darkness, like a sleeping heart. The elders begin to disperse, their dark figures melting into the deeper shadows of the homestead as they head to their own huts for the night. The moon has risen, a bright silver crescent that hangs in a sky saturated with stars. The Inyanga asterisk remains by the fire, and you stay with him, unsure of what comes next. He gazes into the glowing coals for a long time, as if reading the patterns there just as he read the bones. Then he turns to you. The body is clean from the veld, he says, his voice a low murmur. The mind is clear from the stories. Now, the spirit must be washed. Asterisk, he stands, and you follow, moving away from the warmth of the central fire. He leads you not towards his hut, but back out of the main gate of the homestead, onto a path that slopes gently downhill. The night air is cool and clean, and alive with the chirping of crickets and the occasional mournful call of a night bird. The world looks completely different in the moonlight. The familiar green hills are now bathed in a soft, silvery glow, their contours softened and mysterious. Asterisk, the path leads to the small stream you saw at dawn. It's not a rushing river, but a gentle, meandering brook, the water chuckling softly as it moves over smooth, dark stones. The moonlight dances on its surface, shattering into 1,000 tiny, moving points of light. The air here is cooler, carrying the damp, sweet smell of wet earth and night-blooming flowers. The Inyanga asterisk stops at the water's edge. He sets down a small bundle he had been carrying, which you hadn't noticed before. He unrolls it, and in the moonlight, you can see it contains a few sprigs of a specific aromatic herb and a small, hollowed-out calabash gourd. Asterisk, he gestures for you to remove your own simple footwear. You place your sandals on the bank and step into the shallow, moving water. The shock of the cold is immediate and intense, a jolt that makes you gasp. But after the initial surprise, it becomes wonderfully refreshing. The water, no more than ankle deep, flows over your feet, a cool, liquid silk. The smooth, Rounded stones on the stream bed are like a natural massage for the soles of your feet. Asterisk. This is not a bath for physical cleanliness. This is a ritual of spiritual cleansing, a common practice in many traditional African spiritualities. Water, especially flowing water, is seen as a powerful purifying agent, capable of washing away not just physical dirt, but also spiritual negativity, bad luck, or the lingering effects of a stressful experience. It's a baptism without the formal religious doctrine. The Inyanga asterisk wades into the stream with you. He takes a handful of the herbs and crushes them in his hands, releasing their strong, clean scent into the night air. He then begins to gently wash your feet and lower legs with the crushed herbs, his movements slow and deliberate. He isn't scrubbing. It's more like a gentle anointing. As he does this, he murmurs in a low, rhythmic chant. You don't understand the words, but the tone is one of blessing and release. He is asking the water and the spirit of the plant to carry away any lingering anxieties, any spiritual dust you may have accumulated on your journey. Asterisk, it's a surprisingly intimate and humbling experience. In your world, such a gesture would be almost unthinkable. Here, it feels entirely natural, a simple act of care. You find yourself closing your eyes, focusing on the sensations, the cold water, the slightly rough texture of the leaves against your skin, the soothing sound of the Inyanga's voice, the sweet smell of the herbs. Your entire awareness narrows to this single, peaceful moment. Asterisk, a lesser known, but vital aspect of these cleansing rituals is the concept of intention. The physical act of washing was only effective if the person being cleansed was also mentally and spiritually engaged in the process of letting go. The Inyanga might instruct the person to consciously name the things they wish to release, their fears, their resentments, their sorrows, and to visualize them flowing away with the water, down the stream and out into the vastness of the world. It's a powerful combination of physical ritual and focused psychological release, a kind of mindfulness practice in action. Asterisk, after he is finished, he uses the calabash gourd to scoop up some of the clear, cold water and pours it over your head. The shock of the cold is even more intense this time, a sudden, sharp cascade that makes your whole body tingle. It feels like a reset button has been pressed. It washes away the last vestiges of fatigue, the lingering thoughts of your other life, leaving you feeling clear, awake, and intensely present. Asterisk, he then performs the same ritual on himself, washing his own feet and head with the same deliberate reverence. He is not above the practices he prescribes. He too needs to maintain his own spiritual balance. Asterisk, you both stand in the cool, flowing water for a few moments longer, in a shared, companionable silence. You look up at the moon, at the star-dusted sky, and you feel a profound sense of peace. You feel clean, not just on the surface, but all the way through to your core. Asterisk. This raises an interesting question for modern wellness practitioners and historians of religion alike. How much of the healing power of such ancient rituals comes from their specific symbolic content, the particular herb, the direction of the water's flow versus the universal, neurobiological effects of the ritual itself? The combination of cold water immersion, focused intention, rhythmic sound, and a trusted guide creates a powerful sensory experience that is known to reduce stress and promote a sense of well-being, regardless of the cultural context. Were ancient healers unknowingly tapping into these deep-seated neurological responses? Or did they understand the science of the mind in a way we are only just beginning to rediscover? The Inyanga asterisk finally wades out of the stream, and you follow, your feet tingling and alive. You don't dry them. You let the cool night air do its work. As you walk back up the path to the silent, sleeping homestead, you feel lighter, as if you have left a significant weight behind you in the stream, to be carried away by the patient, persistent water, asterisk, back inside the quiet circle of the homestead. The moonlight paints everything in soft shades of silver and charcoal. The fires have all died down to faint red-orange eyes, blinking in the darkness. The only sound is the gentle, rhythmic breathing of the sleeping crawl, the soft lowing of a cow, the sigh of a dog dreaming, the whisper of the night breeze through the thatch. The Inyanga leads you not back to his own hut, but to a smaller, simpler hut that has been prepared for you. Asterisk inside, it is dark and smells of clean grass and earth. A single, thick sleeping mat, made of woven reeds, has been laid out on the polished floor, with a soft, tanned, karasa blanket, made from animal hide folded neatly at its foot. It's a simple, spare accommodation, but it feels incredibly welcoming. The Inyanga asterisk lights a single, small clay lamp. A tiny flame flickers to life, fed by a wick floating in what is likely rendered animal fat. It casts a warm, gentle glow, pushing back the deepest shadows, but leaving the corners of the hut in a soft, mysterious twilight. He doesn't stay long. He simply ensures you are settled, gives you a slow, final nod of acknowledgement, and then slips out, leaving you alone with your thoughts. Asterisk, you lie down on the reed mat. It's firm against your back, far firmer than the mattresses you are used to, but it's not uncomfortable. It feels grounding, connecting you directly to the earth beneath the floor. You pull the karas over you. The hide is soft and surprisingly lightweight, and it holds a faint, musky, not unpleasant scent. It radiates a natural warmth that quickly seeps into your bones. Asterisk, staring up into the domed darkness of the roof, you begin to reflect on the day. You've seen so much: the gathering of plants, the grinding of poultices, the spiritual cleansing, the storytelling. You witnessed healings of the body, the community, and the spirit. But as you sift through the memories, you realize that the most profound lesson was not in what the Inyanga did, but in what he didn't do. Asterisk, he rarely gave direct advice. He didn't lecture or sermonize. He didn't offer a 5-step plan to wellness. His primary tool, the one he used most consistently and most powerfully, was quiet, compassionate listening. Asterisk, think back to the young mother with the sick baby. He let her pour out her anxieties without interruption. He listened not just to her words, but to the exhaustion in her voice and the tension in her shoulders. His diagnosis of the baby was an act of listening with his hands and his senses. His healing of the community's problem with the cattle began with a long, uninterrupted session of listening to the elders' concerns. Even the storytelling by the fire was a form of communal listening, a way for the history of the people to be heard and honored. Asterisk, this is a widely acknowledged, though often underappreciated, truth of healing practices across the globe. The Latin root of the word doctor is docere, which means to teach, but perhaps a more fundamental role is that of the patient listener. The simple, focused act of giving someone your undivided attention is, in itself, a powerful form of medicine. It validates their experience, lessens their sense of isolation, and creates a space where their own healing intelligence can begin to emerge. Asterisk. You must have drifted off, because the next thing you are aware of is the smell. It's a warm, nutty, and slightly sweet aroma, a scent that speaks of nourishment and comfort. It pulls you gently from the depths of a deep and dreamless sleep. You open your eyes to find that the hut is no longer dark. The low doorway is a bright rectangle of pale gray light, signaling the approach of dawn. The air is still cool, but it has lost the deep chill of the night. A figure is silhouetted in the doorway. It's the woman who first greeted you, the one who rekindled the fire at the start of your journey. She is carrying a small, steaming clay bowl. She enters with the same quiet grace, her bare feet making no sound on the floor. She smiles, a warm, genuine smile, and places the bowl beside your sleeping mat before slipping out as silently as she came. You sit up, feeling remarkably refreshed. Your body is a little stiff from the firm mat, but it's a good kind of stiffness, the kind that comes from deep rest. You pull the warm karas around your shoulders and reach for the bowl. The clay is warm to the touch. The steam rising from it carries that wonderful, comforting smell. Inside the bowl is a thick, smooth porridge, the color of cream. Tiny bubbles are breaking on its surface, a sign of its heat. This is isadudu, a traditional breakfast made from ground sorghum or maize meal. It is a staple food, the foundation of the Zulu diet. It's simple, humble, and deeply satisfying. This particular bowl has been made with milk instead of water, a sign of hospitality, and perhaps sweetened with a touch of wild honey. This is a well-documented part of Southern African cuisine and culture. Porridge was a versatile dish that could be a simple breakfast, a hearty main meal, or a celebratory dish depending on its preparation. You take a tentative spoonful. The texture is thick and smooth, and the taste is wonderful. It's subtly sweet, nutty, and incredibly warming. It feels like it's nourishing you from the inside out. It's not a flashy or complicated meal. It's the food of a people who understand the value of simple, life-sustaining things. As you eat, you can hear the homestead beginning to wake up, the same gentle symphony of sounds you heard the day before. The circle of the day is beginning again. After you finish, you step outside. The sun is just beginning to crest the hills, and the air is crisp and clean. You see the Inyanga standing by the central cattle enclosure. He is not doing anything, just watching the cattle as they stir and begin to move about. He turns and sees you, and gestures for you to join him as you approach. You see that a few other members of the homestead have gathered. A meal is being shared, not a formal, sit-down affair, but a simple, communal sharing of food as the day begins. There are bowls of the same porridge you just ate, and a large, flat basket filled with roasted vegetables, perhaps wild yams, or the sweet roots of a local lily, their skins blackened and smoky from the fire. Someone hands you a piece of roasted root. It's hot, and you juggle it from hand to hand. The inside is soft and starchy, with a sweet, earthy flavor. It's delicious. You eat standing, leaning against the warm, sun-drenched logs of the palisade, sharing smiles and nods with the people around you. There is little conversation. The food is the focus, a shared moment of gratitude for the nourishment the land provides. This simple, communal meal is not a grand feast or a special occasion. It is an everyday celebration of the core values you have been learning about: community, simplicity, and a deep connection to the earth. It is Ubuntu served in a bowl. It's a lesser-known, but significant detail that in many traditional societies, sharing food was a sacred act. Eating together reinforced social bonds, affirmed kinship ties, and ensured that everyone in the community, from the youngest child to the oldest elder, was provided for. Hoarding food or eating alone was often seen as a sign of antisocial behavior, a kind of spiritual sickness. The meal is a celebration of the quiet work of the previous day. The sorghum for the porridge was grown in the fields you can see just beyond the homestead, tended by the hands of the women. The vegetables were likely dug from the earth that morning. Even the milk in your porridge came from the very cattle you are standing beside, animals that are not just a source of wealth, but are considered a sacred link to the ancestors. Everything is connected in a simple, visible, and deeply meaningful cycle of life. You look at the faces of the people around you, illuminated in the golden morning light. They are strong, dignified, and seem to be filled with a quiet contentment that you find yourself envying. They possess a kind of wealth that cannot be measured in currency, the wealth of community, of belonging, of having a clear and unshakable sense of their place in the world. This scene prompts a deep and persistent question for sociologists and anthropologists. How does the nature of a society's food system shape its social fabric? In a world like this, where the path from the soil to the bowl is short and visible to everyone, does it foster a greater sense of respect for the land and for the labor of those who work it? In your world, where food appears magically in brightly lit supermarkets, wrapped in plastic and disconnected from its source, have you lost that fundamental sense of connection and gratitude? Have you traded the wealth of community for the convenience of a barcode? The meal ends as quietly as it began. People finish eating, give thanks with a quiet word or a nod, and then drift off to begin the tasks of the day. The bowls are collected, the fire is tended, and the rhythm of life continues. There was no ceremony, no great pronouncements. It was just a simple feast, a quiet, daily ritual that honors the bonds of community and celebrates the fact that for one more day, everyone has enough. It is the perfect, understated culmination of everything you have learned. Your time at the homestead is drawing to a close. The sun has climbed higher, burning off the last of the morning's cool dew. And you know that you must soon begin your journey back to your own world. The Inyanga seems to understand this without you having to say a word. There is no formal farewell, no grand ceremony. That is not his way. He simply walks with you, accompanying you from the heart of the kraal to the outer gate. He is not talking, but his presence is a quiet, steady blessing. As you pass the huts, women look up from their work and give you a soft smile and a nod. Children, who were shy and distant yesterday, now wave a hesitant, curious hand. In the span of a single day, you have become a familiar, if strange, part of the landscape of their lives. At the gate, the Inyanga stops. He looks at you with those same clear, observant eyes that first greeted you. He seems to be taking one last reading, assessing the changes in you. He must see something that satisfies him, because the corners of his eyes crinkle in what is, for him, a broad smile. He then reaches into the small pouch at his belt and pulls something out. It is a single, smooth, dark seed, polished by countless hours of being handled, identical to the ones on his own necklace. He places it into the palm of your hand. It is not a payment or a souvenir. It is a gift, a tangible piece of the world you have just experienced. It is a reminder of the quiet strength of the earth, of the potential for healing that lies dormant in the smallest of things. He says only one word, Hambakal *. It is the traditional Zulu farewell, and it is far more beautiful than a simple goodbye. It means, go well, or go gently. It is a blessing for your journey, a wish for your safety and peace. You manage to reply with the correct response, which he had taught you, Salakal, meaning, stay well, *, and with a final, deep nod of respect, you turn and walk away, down the well-trodden path that leads away from the homestead. You don't look back. You feel that to do so would be to break the quiet perfection of the moment. You walk for a long time, and as the homestead shrinks behind you, you find a spot on a sun-warmed rocky outcrop that overlooks the entire valley. You sit, the seed warm in your closed fist, and decide to wait. To watch the day end from this vantage point, as the afternoon light softens, the landscape transforms. The sharp greens and browns of midday melt into softer shades of gold, rose, and dusty purple. The shadows of the acacia trees stretch and lengthen, like long dark fingers reaching across the veldt. The air becomes still and quiet, the buzz of the insects replaced by the first tentative chirps of the evening crickets. The world seems to be taking a deep, collective breath before settling into sleep. You lie back against the warm rock, your head pillowed on your arms, and you watch the sky. The sunset is not a fiery, dramatic explosion of color. It is a slow, gentle fading. The brilliant blue of the sky softens to a pale, luminous turquoise at the horizon, which then deepens into an ocean of indigo and violet overhead. The sun itself sinks below the distant hills, a final, brilliant flash of orange that paints the underside of a few wispy clouds in shades of impossible pink. And then come the stars. At first, there is only one, a single, brilliant point of light, Venus, the evening star. But then, as the last vestiges of sunlight fade, the others begin to appear, not one by one, but in a sudden, breathtaking rush. The sky doesn't just have stars in it, it is stars. The sheer density and brilliance of them is something you have never experienced before. In your world of city lights and atmospheric haze, the night sky is a pale, washed-out imitation of this. Here, it is a vast, glittering, three-dimensional ocean of light. The Milky Way is not a faint, cloudy band. It is a brilliant, shimmering river of stars, so bright it seems to cast its own soft, milky light on the landscape below. Asterisk, you can see constellations you've only ever seen in books, and a million more stars that have no names. The silence is absolute, broken only by the sound of your own breathing. Lying there, looking up into that infinite, silent spectacle, you are overwhelmed by a feeling of profound awe and a sense of your own smallness. But it's not a frightening or lonely feeling. It's a feeling of connection. You are a tiny, temporary part of this vast, ancient, and breathtakingly beautiful universe. Asterisk. It's a known fact of human psychology that experiences of awe of encountering something vast and powerful that transcends our normal frame of reference can have a profound, positive impact on our mental well-being. It can reduce stress, increase feelings of generosity, and shift our perspective away from our own small, personal worries. The Inyanga, in his own way, knew this. His final, unspoken lesson was to simply let you sit and watch the stars, to let the universe itself provide the final, healing dose of perspective. Asterisk, you wonder, as you gaze into the cosmic dust and distant galaxies, about the stories the Zulu told about these stars. What heroes and monsters did they see in these patterns? Did they use them to navigate, to plant their crops, to mark the seasons? Historians and astronomers have documented some of these beliefs, but so much of that ancient star lore is now lost, whispers that have faded into the silence. Asterisk, you stay there for what could be hours, lost in the celestial display. The rock beneath you is still radiating the day's warmth. The night air is cool and fragrant. You feel a deep, bone-deep sense of peace, a quiet contentment that you know you will carry with you for a long, long time. Your journey is over. You have been washed, fed, and healed in body and spirit. And now, under the vast and silent watch of the African night sky, you finally let yourself drift into a deep and truly peaceful sleep. Asterisk, and as you lie there, under that vast canopy of stars, you can feel the last of your tension finally dissolving, flowing out of you and into the great, quiet stillness of the night. The stories of the day are done, the lessons have been learned, and now there is nothing left to do but rest. Asterisk, let your breathing slow, mirroring the gentle ancient rhythm of the cosmos turning slowly above you. Feel the steady, solid support of the earth beneath you, holding you safely, securely. Every star you see is a distant sun, a reminder of the immense, silent power that holds the universe together, and you are a part of that too. You belong here, in this moment of perfect peace. Asterisk, there is nowhere else you need to be, nothing you need to figure out. Just allow the quiet darkness to cradle you. Let the soft, cool air be a gentle blanket. Let the immensity of the sky hold all of your worries, making them seem as small and as distant as the farthest star. Sleep now. Let the quiet world of the veld be your guide into a deep and restorative rest. There is only peace here, only quiet, only sleep.